So this weekend, Hulu put out a new thriller entitled No One Will Save You. I was kind of hooked in from the first trailers, looking like it was going to be an average home invasion movie, which that alone, always scary. Kind of down to see those kinds of movies, because that's an actual fear I have in my life. Don't you come knocking at my door. Don't know why I'm threatening you, because the only gun I have is my killer clown gun. I'm dying. But no, the trailers promise not only a home invasion, but an alien invasion at the same time, where Bryn, our main character, must fortify her home from the attack of an alien attempting to survive the night. And that's all pretty much. I'll give any spoilers to you guys. For the most part, this will be spoiler free. I think I'm going to be diving into spoilers on the movie towards the end of this review. Since it's on a popular streaming service and it's almost the end of the weekend of the release of the film, I feel most people have seen it. But if you haven't seen it yet, let me see if I can convince you, because I was a little shocked to see the audience score kind of getting trashed. No One Will Save You is one of those films that again ends up on streaming and I am pissed off. I'm like, why did this not get a theatrically release? Why did this not get some sort of marketing push behind it? Because I feel this is a cult classic right here. The film takes such a simple premise of, an alien coming to your house and you having to fight it off, but manages to add so many layers of depth and meaning while also subverting expectations about the way they go about telling the story. I find it so unique and refreshing. Because one of the things that might surprise you about this movie is there's only like 2 lines of dialogue throughout the entire film. This movie hinges on its music, its camera work, and its actress to portray the story out, and all of that is done fabulously. The movie starts off with letting you dive right into the daily life of our main character, Bryn, who's trying to deal with a past trauma in her life. She's very secluded by herself in a big house, is constantly writing letters as a form of therapy, but there is a bit of mystery surrounding her because when she goes out to try and make friends or say hello to townspeople, everyone's pretty mean to her, making it feel like maybe the film will have some sort of slow build-up, leading you to explore what happened in her life, why the townspeople feel this way about her. But no, immediately, like 20 minutes in, you get that alien attack. And look, nowadays, whenever we get a horror movie where there's an alien or a creature, think of like the first Quiet Place, although I really like that movie, there's usually a formula to the way they play things out. They hide the alien and creature from you almost every time. Not No One Will Save You. From the get-go, they give you the silhouette, the noises these alien makes, the powers they hold, their movements, all of it super eerie. They create some like really suspenseful moments towards the beginning of the movie where she's trying to evade this alien that's come into her house, trying to see how she can survive, and things don't go the way you would expect. And that's kind of like what really hooked me in, is the way they play out this alien home invasion that goes on with Bryn. They throw in a bit of a Home Alone aspect where she has to fortify her house and set up traps left and right. And it's like a big chunk and part of the movie. It's not something they slowly build up. They give you plenty of action with this alien. Their designs to me might have been pretty basic and what we would stereotypically expect aliens to look like, especially like in a sci-fi Hollywood film. But they throw in a variation here and there, which I appreciate. And so I'm watching this movie and I'm getting so into it. I'm halfway into it and I'm realizing this girl hasn't said a word. Has she said anything in the movie? I'm fully into it without lines of dialogue or someone explaining everything. The film could have easily have been ruined if Bryn was one of those characters that was constantly talking to themselves in a way to handhold the audience. Things were she could have said out loud, oh god, okay, how do I get out of here? Maybe if I turn on this and I grab that, or no, the basement's locked, I gotta do this. Things like that could have really have cheesed up the movie. The silence she goes through and you just being able to know what she's thinking or what her plan is through her facial expressions, through the camera panning, I thought is what really made the film stand out and be unique. But it was getting to a point where I'm all right, this movie so far is too good to me. It's hitting all the right notes. It's making me feel suspense. It's getting me freaked out a little bit by this alien. What about this film did they think it's best for it to go to streaming as opposed to giving it a big marketing push? Were they afraid audiences needed those lines of dialogue, or how do you market this film? Because I wouldn't have been surprised if this is a movie you could have marketed as a typical home invasion through the trailers and whatnot, maybe a mysterious creature. And then when you get to see the film, it's oh, it's an alien movie. That's kind of cool. And then you get to the final 15 to 20 minutes of this movie and it takes a leap. That, I think, is what will make or break this horror movie for you, or thriller if you want to call it that, is how you interpret or how you take in the last 20 minutes of the movie. Because like I said, the premise and everything going about, suspenseful, eerie, creepy. You want to see this character make it through, and then they add in those deeper layers. You get back to the story about her trauma and why the town maybe doesn't like her as much, as well as the real purpose for what the alien is doing on Earth. And look, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the ending was hitting, right? And there was several moments at the ending where I'm like, the film could stop right here, and it'll still be good. It'll still be enjoyable. But it like kept going, and then you're like, okay, it's probably gonna end right here. Okay, it's still going, and it's gonna end right here. It's still going. Okay, wow. And every time it extended out what could have been an obvious end for the movie, it just really pushed things. And I respect it to a point, and I appreciated what they were trying to do. In fact, as I was watching it, I started thinking to myself, this feels like it could have been an A24 film. And sure enough, when I'm reading interviews from the director about his thought process through the ending of the movie, he had A24 in mind. And that's always like what makes or breaks A24 movies for me, is how they balance something that's just simple, fun, entertaining horror film with then the higher elevated metaphorical think pieces of a movies that you can come out with. Not saying that that's bad. We all have our preferences here. But I definitely understand for a film that was like 80% just simple girl run from an alien to then ending up with like a real think piece, exploration, a bit of a confusion for people that are like, what is going on? What does this mean? Why is that happening? That's the ending? I maybe then understood why some people walked away with a sour taste in their mouth. I'm gonna go into my scorecard for the movie, but once my scorecard is over, I'm gonna go into full spoilers, so if you want to hear my thoughts on that, keep watching. But if you don't want to be spoiled, just stop the video after the scorecard. So, for action in the movie, I'm actually gonna give it 3.5 stars. I felt like they did a lot with the alien. There was plenty of chase sequences and a lot of things they were able to do in kind of a small location. That definitely had me entertained. Comedy in the movie, I'm gonna give it 2 stars. There is some physical comedy. Like I said, there's not a lot of dialogue in the movie, so a lot of it will be kind of some slapstick things that happen to the alien creature. Drama in the film, I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. I appreciate the elevated story they tried to go with for the end of the movie. I got what they were going for. The execution, I felt maybe could have been done a little bit better, but even then, I like that the movie tried merging, you know, alien invasion with trauma and dealing with guilt. Horror in the film, I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. It was close to being 3 stars, but then that later half kind of makes the alien less scary to me. But for the first half of the movie, Alien was pretty frightening. A lot of that has to do with the way the aliens move and their ticks and just their giant close-up eyes. And suspense in the movie, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I was kind of on the edge of my seat for the majority of the movie, trying to figure out how this girl would get out of her situation, how she would overcome the alien. Casual fans, I'm gonna give it a B-. A lot of that will depend on how you feel towards the ending of the movie. Cinephiles, I'm gonna give it a B+, and critically, I'm going to give it a B+. If this was a movie in theaters and you had the choice to go watch it, this would definitely be one I'd recommend to go out and see. But now with my opinion of the movie out of the way, let me go into some of the spoilers here, because I really did walk away liking this movie. I think the more I think about the ending, I'm like okay with it, and I'm like, that's kind of creepy. But some of the stuff that I liked about the film from the beginning is how it subverted expectations, how it had like the alien right there, and she kills one of them the first night. You'll notice throughout this review, I was just saying one alien. That's because I feel like people who don't know too much about this movie, it's kind of like a twist to find out there'll be multiple aliens when the trailers made it maybe look like it was just going to be one. And I like the variation of the aliens they had in here. You know, they had a small one that maybe could have been an infant, which is even funnier to me because that means she killed a baby alien and smacked its head with a door cover. But then that gigantic alien as well kind of gave me Quiet Place vibes in its shape. But just the movements of the aliens, really creepy, really eerie. The way they tick and they move their fingers and the telekinetic powers, I thought that was really fun. I thought they even did some unique things with like the beams that came down and how she was able to break the half of the mailman who was a host to this like squiggly virus inside your throat. That scene was awesome with the red lights. But just the way it was slowly going into her mouth and putting you in this trance where you're in this happy world until she pulls it out herself. All of that was going swell and glorious for me. So then we get to the ending of the movie and we get revealed why the town doesn't like her, what's the issue and trauma she's been having. And as a kid, she had a little fight with her childhood best friend. She saw red, which is a common phrase for when you act out of anger without thinking, grabs a rock, hits her friend in the head, and she dies. And this guilt has been eating away with her all of her life, to where the town doesn't like her because they see her as a murderer. Her parents die, so now she's just left alone in this giant house trying to create a perfect little community through her model homes. And when these aliens come and they offer her a sanctuary to be with Maud, our character gets to apologize and complete that closure of the guilt she's been dealing with and doesn't want to live in that world. The part to me that was just kind of off is, like, you know, the aliens kidnap her, they take her up to the ship, and this woman was basically John Wick on their aliens. She had like a body count of 4 or 5 of them already dead, which, yeah, the movie was starting to get like a little too convoluted and convenient with how she was able to start killing each alien. She got very lucky. It made me go, yeah, if we just had the military aware these guys were coming, this alien invasion would be stopped right away. But nevertheless, these aliens, they look into her mind, they see what she's going through, and the aliens have sympathy for her and decide, we're not gonna kill you even though you killed a bunch of us. We're just gonna throw you back down and you'll get your wish of everyone being nice to you, where we just see her then in a world filled with these aliens who are all taken over by this virus, where mentally they're in this trance in a happy little place, and she just gets to have fun with their bodies, throwing a little dance party and living in this fantasy world. Like, that's one way to end it. Like, it definitely has like an eerie, creepy Twilight Zone type of feeling. And like I was mentioning in my review, I was reading the director's interview and thought process into that ending, and he said that he just really wanted to give his main character a happy ending because he hates endings like A24 films where they end badly for the main character. But it's so funny that he calls that a happy ending, because most general audiences, people out there, they love happy endings, and audiences are watching this movie and going, not happy with that ending. So I don't know, it's kind of unique. At the end of the day, I walked away liking it, enjoying it. I'd maybe watch it again around the spooky season. I applaud the attempt for that higher elevation towards the end of the movie. Whether it worked for you or didn't, it made the film unique and different. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on No One Will Save You. I'm curious what you thought about the movie if you got around to seeing it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.